And we're back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rollsicle. I'm the host here of the channel. My name's Nathaniel, and we're back with another video. This time, we're talking about Wizards of the Coast being sued, or I should say specifically Hasbro being sued over Magic the Gathering, which is ran by Wizards of the Coast, and the details that I drew from looking at a couple of articles and finding the article that I think lays it out the best. So if you guys want that quick information, stay tuned to this video, and of course, we will jump right into it. Before we do that, I will say, if you haven't left a like, comment, subscribe, or anything like that here at the channel, it is greatly appreciated. We're on the push for 400 subscribers, and I believe you could be the one. All right, here we go. Lawsuit claims Hasbro misled investors regarding sales of controversial Magic the Gathering anniversary set. There's actually more to it than just the anniversary set, but this article believes that's one of the big kickers. So here we go. New lawsuit filed by shareholders of Hasbro against the company and its directors alleges that the company leadership has mismanaged Magic the Gathering by overprinting sets of cards, thereby devaluing the existing ones. So it's mainly an overprinting issue. It's not really specifically Universes Beyond or Secret Lair, but more the combination of everything and the amount of cards and output, the amount of supply versus the amount of demand is basically their big complaint. It's also quite notably claims that Hasbro leadership concealed the true reason that its widely criticized, incredibly expensive Magic the Gathering 30th anniversary was pulled from sale within an hour of its initial release, which that's really, really interesting and isn't what most of the other articles broke down as much. So I like that this one gets into that as well. The lawsuit filed in Rhode Island earlier this week is filed by shareholders. I'm going to mispronounce names, but they're there, against Hasbro CEO Christian Cox, a number of fellow company directors, and Hasbro itself. The lawsuit alleges breaches of fiduciary? I have no idea. Duty, unjust enrichment, waste of corporate assets, gross mismanagement, abuse of control, and violations of the Exchange Act. Specifically, the shareholder plaintiffs claim that under Cook's leadership, Hasbro has been printing far too many Magic the Gathering sets, agreed, which we can see here in just a second, thereby reducing the value of existing sets. This complaint probably sounds familiar to avid Magic players, right here, as Wizards of the Coast has been printing significantly more sets per year than it used to, as seen right here on the graph, which we're about to talk about. This handy chart made in only 2022, so we've got 3 more years under our belt where this only got even larger. Only on Tuesdays helps illustrate the problem. So as you can see here, this goes all the way back to Alpha and Beta, the origin of Magic the Gathering, and it takes us all the way to 2022. This is before I got back into the game, but I obviously was around to hear about some of these sets. And I mean, it has only grown since then, right? With more Commander products. We saw the most Commander product ever in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. So that did dip back down for 2025, but this only got bigger. We had more Secret Lair items. I mean, this says 48 plus, but we're definitely, I think, at 50 plus for the years following that. I mean, this graph just continues its clear upward trend, and that is extremely concerning. I understand why shareholders are saying, hey, you're printing more product than the average consumer is going to buy, and they have a valid case under their belt. This advertisement for Mario down here is just cracking me up. Anyways, as noted in the lawsuit, Wizards of the Coast released more sets than ever before in 2020, which served to double the revenue of Wizards segment of Hasbro between 2018 and 2021. And then in 2022, Hasbro released over 5 times as many Magic sets as it had in 2016. So if we go back here, this is 5 times as much as this, which is a very fair point. That is not a big gap, right? That's a 6-year gap, but completely absurd growth in how much product they're putting out. It's worth noting that both the chart above and the lawsuit itself are somewhat generous in what they consider to be a Magic set, which is true. For example, the lawsuit also claims Wizard released 39 separate Magic sets in 2022, which is likely a little high. They're probably counting every drop of Secret Lairs, like individual drops of Secret Lairs, as different sets, which, to be fair, from a non-playing perspective, is a bundle of cards for a certain amount of money that people could buy. Like, I see why they're referring to it as sets. I do believe that that's a little generous for claiming that they put out 39 sets in a year. Like, that's going to sound outrageous, but I can see where they're coming from when it comes to that perspective. All right. Regardless of how you count them, it is true that the card release volume has gone up lately. I forget what it was, but on the command zone, you guys can see they actually talk about like the amount of cards released every year, and it's insane. Like, you cannot possibly memorize or play with the amount of cards that are coming out in Magic. As anyone who's got you about the number of Universes Beyond will tell you, absolutely. I hate all the Universes Beyond contributions, but again, this is different. It's not about those collabs. But the issue that the shareholders have is that the volume is exceeding consumer demand. So again, too much supply, not enough demand at a price that demand's not going to be willing to pay. And Hasbro leadership is only releasing this many to bring in the quick cash that covers up shortfalls elsewhere in the Hasbro business, which if you don't already know, I did make a video talking about the prices of things. You guys should totally go check that out. But I think it's MTG Goldfish or something like that has a video talking about Hasbro's finances. And in that video, he breaks down how Hasbro as an entire company would be in the red. They would be in the negative if it was not for the profits that come in from Wizards of the Coast, most of which is Magic the Gathering, not Dungeons and Dragons. So basically, to break that down for you guys, in every other part of their company, they are negative overall, and Wizards of the Coast brings in so much profit that it fills that entire hole and more. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The lawsuit itself is 76 pages long, so I'm not reading it, but there are two major accusations that stand out, and here's where they break it down. One is an allegation that Hasbro management is using what they're calling the parachute strategy, which is where leadership plots to parachute in high-demand Magic sets whenever there's an expected shortfall somewhere else in Hasbro. These parachute sets initially consisted of master sets, which are, of course, the large reprint, low production cost, high demand, right? So you want to see that money go up, you suddenly drop one of these high-demand sets, and everything looks a little bit better. However, as it grew, more sets got involved, including the aforementioned Secret Lair collaborations and the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate set. Let's see. Per the lawsuit, as such, the explosive growth of the Magic business noted just prior to and during the relevant period was in fact a result of the parachute strategy. Notably, in 2022, such parachute Magic sets accounted for 46% of all Magic releases. So you've got to keep that in mind. Like, if they know what sets are going to sell, if they're holding them for the specific points to make up elsewhere in their company, that's what they're calling this parachute method. The second, and I agree, the spicier accusation here is the allegation that Hasbro management essentially faked being out of stock of the controversial and extremely expensive Magic 30th Anniversary set. Worst decision they've ever made, by the way. That set was disgustingly horrible, in order to encourage demand. If you're not familiar, it was a $999 box that came with only 4 booster packs of non-legal reprints of original Magic cards. So you paid $999 for 4 packs of official proxies. That's what it was. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Magic cards, some of which Wizards had sworn they would never reprint. They were on the oh my goodness, it's slipping my mind. Whatever the non-reprint list is. It has a name and my brain's not remembering it. But reserve list, there we go. They're on the reserve list, which of course they skirted around their reserve list policy by saying, well, we didn't reprint them legally. These are illegal to play in tournaments. And it's like, yeah, that's fair, but also horrible decision. Anyways, this box garnered massive criticism, as it should, due to its price, the fact that the cards weren't even usable, and the seemingly broken promise on the part of Wizards that they would not reprint cards such as Black Lotus, which again, these were non-tournament legal Black Lotuses, so they are different, but still. According to testimony from several members of leadership shared in this complaint, following the negative reaction from players at this announcement, management made a plan to pause sales of the set if it became apparent that they were weaker than anticipated. The company said the sale has concluded and the product is currently unavailable for purchase. In a post on X, which back then was Twitter, I'm still not used to calling it X, implying they had sold out, and effectively making it look like the product was way more popular than it really was. In the lawsuit, plaintiffs accused the company of claiming the product was out of stock. What happened to the unsold cards after sales were paused then? The lawsuit continues to go on that a former employee stated that the company pauses its sales of the Magic Anniversary set less than an hour after its release, only selling a portion of the available inventory. The employee further noted that shortly after the set's release, he and other Wizards employees viewed photographs of Magic Anniversary sets that were dropped off at a Texas landfill alongside other Magic products. Crazy. This is crazy. The plaintiffs are asking the judge to rule that they, as shareholders, are adequate representatives of Hasbro and therefore can sue on behalf of the company itself, and that each of the individual defendants failed in their fiduciary duties. They are also asking that Hasbro be awarded damages for each individual defendant and that the shareholders be given significantly more power on the board of the company. Basically, hey, we own a part of this company. We should have more of a say than what's happening because they're killing it, is essentially what they're saying here. IGN reached out to Hasbro for comment and received the following statement. These claims have no merit. Our strategic plan for Magic was implemented and the results underscore the strength of that strategy. So all they got was, we're not giving into this. We had a plan. We implemented that plan, and how much money we made proves that it was a good plan, is what I got from that. But to be fair, the whole point that they were making with the first point was, yeah, you're making all of your money in drop-in sets that strategically make you look really good, but are overprinting out the wazoo. This is far from the first time that shareholders have expressed displeasure with Hasbro's handling of Magic. They mentioned multiple times in the suit that this is a deep dive done by Bank of America back in 2022 on this exact issue of overprinting, which prompted the analysts to claim Hasbro was hurting its long-term value with the frequent release of so many sets. This year's first set, Lorwyn Eclipse, is doing all right at least, having seemingly sold out in most places, amid the excitement that we're returning to a beloved plane from Magic's history. It's even got a host of super expensive rare cards, topped off with a Showcase Fracture foil version of Bloom Tender that's going for about $600 at the time of writing this piece. The issue is, and I don't think that this article is going to get into it, but what I want to talk about here is that when you have so many product releases, everything that you're putting out is competing with itself. If people only have the amount of money to buy into 4 sets a year, and you put out 4 sets a year, you have someone that's buying into all of your product. If you're putting out 12 sets a year, and they have the spending money to put into 4 sets a year, you have somebody that's only buying a third of your product, but you're having to pay for all of the product that you're making. So the shareholders have a valid concern that say, hey, the average Magic player could afford this stretch from, look at this, 98 all the way to 2016, and I think there's 2 more symbols in 18 years, and then in the following 6 years, the symbols almost tripled. That's an inflation of supply. That's an increase in supply, which of course, when you print exciting things, is going to excite people and is going to bring in that quick profit that they're talking about. We've talked about this on the channel before, how they're bringing in the quick buck that will lead to the ultimate demise of Magic long term, and that's what the shareholders are talking about. They are hurting the company long term, and they should be able to have more of a say in the long-term longevity of the company. So I totally get it. I see why this is happening. I hope that this gets significant support. I hope that this really goes through. I hope that they don't give up on this and that Hasbro actually has to do something about it. We don't want 7 sets a year. We don't want so much Universes Beyond. We don't want the inflation of Magic product where it goes, yeah, sure, not everything's for you. Then why are you printing so much stuff? Try to print things that are mostly for your audience, that are everything's not going to be for everyone, because not everyone loves the horror set as much as they love the high fantasy set. But if they love Magic, they're much more likely to buy Innistrad or what's a high fantasy set? I guess Lorwyn, mostly, yeah. But there are better ones. Dominaria is probably a really good one. Ravnica's a little steampunky, but you get the gist. They're more likely to buy both of those than they are to buy Star Trek if they're just straight up not a sci-fi or Star Trek fan at all. I'm not that interested at all in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This does not excite me. I'm not a horror guy, but I would buy into Innistrad. I'm not a horror guy or like horror movie guy, but I bought into Duskmourn. I like Duskmourn a lot more than I like this. And that's no hate to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm the biggest Spider-Man fan, that I know, really. And I still would buy Duskmourn, as much as I don't like horror, over Spider-Man. Because it's not Magic. It's completely dividing the audience. And there's so much of it. Because we're basically, at this point, if you go back up here, right? If you look here, all the way back to early 2000s, even into the mid 2000 teens, right? Main sets, you're getting 4-ish, maybe 5 main sets a year. It's mainly 4. I mean, we're seeing a couple 5s here, and then that one looks like it had 6, but I don't know. Maybe that was just a weird year. Okay, but let's say 4 sets, right? In 2026, we're getting 7 sets. We're basically getting an entire year's worth of product back then of in-universe sets and an entire year's worth of products of universes beyond sets. That is how much full set product we're getting. And I don't blame the shareholders at all. I can't keep up. The average consumer probably can't keep up. And somebody trying to get into Magic is probably going to get overwhelmed. Like, we're actively trying to get our co-star into Magic, and he's been having a good time with it. Austin, shout out to you if you see this. You're great. Keep playing. It's an awesome game. But at the end of the day, I don't blame him for being a little overwhelmed when he's like, I don't know what this mechanic does, or I don't know what this mechanic does, because every single set is introducing new mechanics. Every single set is introducing, 200 cards, 300 cards that you now need to know. And yeah, that's every month and a half now, not every 3 months. That's a massive difference. And then on top of that, you take one step further and it's like, boom, commander product, secret layers, all sorts of non-booster products. And the next thing you know, there's something coming out every other week. That's insane. Nobody can keep up with that. They're 100% right. And I really, really hope that this bites Hasbro in the butt and they have to make some changes. All right, that's what we have for you guys. Let us know down in the comments below if we're right, if they're right, if we're wrong, if they're wrong. We want to know what your guys' opinions on this are. We've made enough hate on Magic videos. We don't really want to just keep beating the same dead horse, but at the end of the day, I am glad to see it finally take some legal action, and I really hope that this amounts to something. Like I said, I want to know what you guys said down below. If you haven't already, leave a like, comment, subscribe. You guys are what makes Rosicle so awesome and keeps this channel just rolling. But because it's a dice, I'll stop now. But anyways, genuinely, if you haven't subscribed, it really does mean the world to us. We're on that road to 400, and I believe you could be the one. Thank you for all the love and support, and we will see you guys in whatever comes next. Until then, may those rolls be ever in your favor. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Bye, y'all.